Hey everyone, welcome back. So on today's STEM topic episode, we're going to talk about an overview of machine vision systems. So we're going to talk about the 5 simple pieces that all belong to a machine vision system and are required in order to have a system that can at least function. Doesn't mean it's going to function well, but if you get all of those systems correctly sized proportionally and set up correctly, then yeah, your system's going to work fantastically, but that's how you want to program it and set it up. So the first system that we're going to need to require is obviously the camera. So there's a whole multitude of cameras available on the market. There's some that use very simple programming and an AI feature that can actually tie your program all into one, kind of tie it together. Or there's some that you can design with a little bit of smart tools, if you will, kind of like a Cognex or Keyent system. There's also Datalogics that uses a lot of that too. Or there's systems that you just literally get a little dumb camera and you have to design that all on a different software that's on an image grabber system. But we'll get back to that in a second. The second thing you're going to need is the lenses. Now that's the piece that's going to be very critical. You've got to size your lensing correctly. You've got to figure out what your distance is, your working distance, your depth of field, the size of the image that you're trying to take. All of that stuff has to play into the lens calculation, if you will. There are calculators on the internet that are available. Cognex has a very good one that'll give you kind of working distance along with your height and width of the image that you need, along with some of the pixelation of the camera. All of those things are going to kind of tie in together, and these are critical. They work together, they work hand in hand. Without each other, they don't work. With each other, but not sized correctly, obviously they aren't going to work well. So that's very much something that you've got to pay attention to. The third one that you're going to have is lighting. Lighting's critical. As you can see, even in this video, you can see kind of the shadow that exists here. So if we were taking an image of my hand here, you've got the shadow that's going to play in. That's going to be an issue to you. Lighting is a big critical issue. There are lights that'll block out the other colors or the colors that you have there. So you might put like a red light, a green light, blue light, and then sometimes even a white light. The only word of caution I have on a white light is a white light. In order to get white LEDs, we use blue light to do that, and we filter out the blue light heavily. So blue and white kind of go hand in hand. Now, LED lighting's come a long way from when it was first developed. So there's a lot of changes that have occurred there that have benefited us in the machine vision industry. So just a heads up on that. But again, we've come a long way. So white lighting doesn't always sit on that spectrum as much as it used to, but it does sometimes kind of work hand in hand with the blue. So pay attention to the lighting. There are other options where we can use like xenon or halogen lighting, or and we can strobe those. We don't use a lot of incandescent lighting, especially the fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights cause us a lot of issues. We usually try to block those out as much as possible. But LEDs have really become the big ticket item that we use for lighting. Fourth thing that we're going to need is an image processor. An image processor simply is going to be, in fact, I'm going to call it the processor, but some will call it the grabber. I like to think that they kind of have to go hand in hand. It's the system that's going to process everything. So the camera is going to take the image, it's going to send it back to the software. The software is going to go ahead and process it and then send it out to our PLC or whatever that is. And speaking of that, that's our number 5, is our PLC or our controller. The controller is what's actually going to functionally use that output from the camera and either eject the part, keep the part, whatever that might be. So without this here, this whole system's useful, beneficial, but if we don't have something that's actually controlling this or using what this is outfeeding to us for control, then we've kind of hit a pointless system in a sense. Yes, you could send it to a relay, and a relay could use a quick eject, but the PLC is so much easier because you can manipulate the timers, you can manipulate other features, you can use like bit shifts to kind of calculate and count that stuff out. So I like to say you need to use a PLC if you're going to use a camera. If you're not, well, that's up to you. It's your judgment call. But my suggestion on that one. Back to the image processor and grabber, though, I kind of want to focus on that a little bit. A lot of cameras that you'll see, particularly on this channel, is we're going to focus on what's kind of loosely terminated as a smart camera. And they have kind of either an onboard built-in software that works with, you'll have the image processing chip and then the imager chip. And they work hand in hand together to pull that image, process it, and then shoot out either an output, a discrete input or output kind of thing. Based off of that information. It's going to shoot a discrete output, but your input's going to come in to tell you when you need to take that image. So let me correct myself on that. But there are some that will send it into like a high-speed computer, if you will, or Keyence has a controller module that might sit offside on a camera, and then it just goes off to a dumb Keyence camera. And the camera is just taking the picture and sending it back to the controller, and the controller is processing it and sending out the outputs accordingly. Not that I'm calling Keyence's product bad. So just kind of pay attention to that. What kind of system you're putting in. There are a lot of other ones out there, and like Teledyne and a handful of others that, again, it's just a camera with an imaging chip on board, and all they are is taking the image and sending it back to the image processor and grabber to process the image and send the discrete outputs to your PLC controller. So 5 important critical pieces that make up a machine vision system. Thanks to you all for watching.